What's up, guys? So today I got some very exciting news. You got to see this built motor. You ready? Not much of a built motor, but a very crappy built motor. So basically, I'll explain what happened. When I first got this car from Dimmitt Chevrolet, I was like, this is an amazing car. I thought everything was good with it. I thought I was stock. And as we continued to look inside the car, we noticed that it was not stock. So basically, the first thing that I noticed, there was one sensor missing. Someone did a MyVic delete on the car. Then I had talked to the tuner. I said, why would someone do this? What is MyVic delete for? And that's where they got into saying, oh, you know what? It's probably a built motor. So I said, what are the odds that I got a stock Evo, someone maybe transformed it back to a built motor? So I dropped the oil pan when I was doing the oil change, and we looked inside, and sure enough, there were Manley steel H-beam rods, there were Manley pistons, and then on top of that, for the cylinder, well, we also took the valve cover off, and we realized that there was dual valve springs. Now, with that, I mean, someone did a very crappy build. I mean, Manley steel H-beam rods they're just one of those rods that a lot of people have different sayings on. They say, you know what, it could make 800 horsepower. It's good for 700 horsepower. Then I've heard a lot of people say they're like stock. They can handle a little bit more power, but they can't handle the torque. So I was like, okay, you know what, whatever. Motor seemed fine. So then I did full bolt-ons. I did E85, and I did a Boost Lab upgraded 25G TD06 turbo. The car ended up making 540 horsepower, as well as 380 pounds of torque. And after that fact, the car was running pretty good, but then we run into some issues. And then there was an oil leak that we did not know too much about where it was coming from. A lot of people said it was the oil pan, but we sealed the oil pan up very well. It was just coming from a different spot on the engine. So, long story short, the motor, something happened to the motor to where it's not really working. You could say it blew, but I mean, from seeing, I couldn't really tell. There was no rod sticking out of the oil pan. It just, it kind of ticked me off a little bit. So I kind of just said enough was enough, and I just jumped to the conclusion and said, you know what, the car is reaching almost 30,000 miles. I think it's around 28, 29. So basically, the car is going to come back at least 900 to 1,000 horsepower. So I'm going to give you the update as to what's being done. So as of right now, so this motor and this transmission, the motor is actually not going to be reused. I bought a final edition on the side, and I bought it pretty cheap actually. It was low mileage. They did a compression test. Everything was good with this motor, and it's actually going to be sent off soon to a place called Mazworks, 2 hours away from Pinellas Park, Florida, and it's actually going to be built to withstand at least 1,100 to 1,200 horsepower, but I'm not going to push it that far. After that gets done, I'm definitely going to build the transmission. The transmission is going to Sheptrans, and it's going to be I'm doing everything with the transmission. It's going to get all the upgraded parts for being built, and then on top of that, we're building the final drive. I think it's a 4.83 or 4.38 final drive, I believe. And then after that, we're definitely doing a triple disc XD clutch. The XD triple disc clutch, I mean, I've heard a lot of good things about it, and plus it's rated for over 800 pounds of torque, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what the car does with all these upgraded components. And then getting into the turbo kit, I am going to do a Sidewinder turbo kit. If you look at Extra Slow, XTRA SLO, he actually has his own channel where it's pretty much an exact replica of that Sidewinder turbo kit. It's going to go on the car probably sometime in 2019, March, April. I'm planning for the car to be done around June 2019, but even though this is kind of unfortunate, I am coming back a little bit stronger than ever before because I'm hoping everything goes well. Fingers crossed that the engine turns out to be very well, transmission's built correctly, and then later down the road, once I get everything tuned and the car makes the power, After that, I'm going to also go back to Shep Trans to do an Evo 9 differential with the Evo 10 conversion kit, and then on top of that, I'm doing Evo 9, 900 horsepower upgraded axles for the rear. So as far as that goes, I mean, that's the update on the motor. I'm going to, and basically on the car itself, I'm going to update you guys continuously about different parts that I'm doing, so you guys can follow this build pretty closely. I'm pretty sure a lot of my friends are going to ask me, so like if they get Evos, if they want to replicate this build, and like, you know, it's an immense amount of power. Yeah, there's a lot of information. You know, there's a lot of new things I'm learning that comes with transmission upgrades and things like that. Not just it's one thing building the engine, it's one thing building the transmission, but when it comes to the actual components for building the transmission, there's a lot more. You know, upgraded clutch master cylinder, the AMS conversion for just a lot of components. So stay tuned. I will try and post more videos as soon as I can, but I will update you guys as the build continues. Like, you know, once the engine is done, I'll take a little video of that as well as the transmission, and finally I'll do reviews on like the Exidy triple disc clutch, and finally everything is going to come together. So stay tuned.